Hi everyone, this is Dr. Shantanu Gulati and today I'll be presenting on pearls for managing intraocular dynamics in your first iris claw implantation. We all know the textbook principles of this procedure, be it adequate vitrectomy or well-placed side ports. This video aims to highlight how the eye behaves during the procedure and the common problems that can make one hesitate or even abandon their first attempt. When placing the iris claw IOL in the anterior chamber, the first approach is a two-step technique, introducing the IOL at 90 degrees to the wound and then bringing it into axis with intermittent viscoinflation. The second method is a single-step entry achieved by radial wrist deviation during insertion and ulnar deviation to align the IOL. The third option is direct entry when the wound size permits. The advantage with the latter two techniques is a single-step insertion and enclavation, reducing IOL handling after entry, often one of the most challenging steps early on, as you shall see here. In our attempt to protect the cornea, we often overfill viscoelastic above the IOL, which pushes the lens against the iris and leaves no working space for forceps entry. Also note that the bulkier your choice of forceps, the more difficult it will be to manage the IOL inside the anterior chamber. So instead, what we should aim for is to fill the viscoelastic both above and under the IOL to create a working space on either side, and to get comfortable with a sleeker iris claw forceps with a lower profile. Next, we slide it into the anterior chamber with forceps posteriorly directed, catch the IOL and enclave. Another rate-limiting step can be enclavation in a small pupil, which can occur often after pilocarpine installation. What has worked well in my hands is entering through the main port itself with an iris repositor and using a bimanual approach to gently displace the iris, creating space for posterior positioning of the IOL, followed by enclavation through the side port with the same instrument. Apart from the choice of forceps, what matters equally is the enclavation instrument. I have found that an iris repositor is the least damaging to the iris and has the added advantage of its use in small pupils, as I've mentioned previously. Another step that catches you off guard with its exceeding difficulty is using the non-dominant hand to catch the IOL while enclaving the second haptic. A useful trick is to hold the forceps with both hands, enter the anterior chamber with a slight posterior direction, and secure a stable grip on the IOL. Once the grip is firm, release the dominant hand to take the repositor from your assistant and proceed with enclavation. Using both hands provides better stability and is far less unsettling to both the surgeon and the anterior chamber. The next challenge is achieving a round pupil post-operatively. While several tips exist to address this, what I have found most relevant is ensuring that at the time of actual enclavation, the IOL forceps complex is positioned exactly at the center from each 180-degree limbal reference point. The last point is being mentally prepared for de-enclavation in certain situations, such as a broken haptic or a dangling IOL. This requires using an iris repositor to enter behind the iris and pushing down on the iris claw clip while simultaneously pulling the optic away using a sleek IOL holding forceps, causing iris release. The same is demonstrated here in a case where the left-sided claw is to be de-enclaved in an IOL dangling from the right side. A McPherson catches hold of the visible IOL optic and the repositor, slid behind the iris, presses down on the clip to release the iris tissue. These were some of the challenges I faced during my initial cases and the adjustments I learned over time that helped me overcome them. I hope these practical points make early attempts smoother and more predictable for others. Thank you.